Well. Welcome back to Krown's Good. Okay, it's a nice little early Thursday evening over here from Chicago, Illinois. It's definitely taken a lot to remember how to say that instead of morning. But you know what? I just want to look at the beautiful background over here as we fly over downtown. So majestic as always. Batman land in the background there. And so we have plenty to talk about today because, well, we need to follow up from this morning's video because we did see the breakout and we are hitting our first few targets on the lower time frames. And I'm actually in an active trade myself. So without further ado, I do want to wish you the best, the haps of the haps, as we like to say. And and also before I get into it, I do want to remind myself to talk about Twitch. I'm going to be doing some impromptu streams on Twitch, so if you are interested in checking that out, definitely go follow at Krown Crypto. Just at Krown Crypto is the name, and they won't be announced or anything like that. I'm just going to be doing them when basically I'm just kind of waiting around for trades and things are more on the quiet side. I think that's a perfect time for a little bit of a Twitch hangout. Anyways, without further ado, as always, wish you well, wishing the best, and the happiest of the happiest as well. And let's get into the live stream right here, right now, because it can wait no longer, and let's initiate. See you in there, baby. Oh man, fly me out, beam me up, Scotty, and holy shit, there it is. Bitcoin on the not Bitcoin on the daily, but my derivative account. I do want to show my long position right now, but actually I have a running trade open right now, so I actually do want to talk about this for a second. I just shorted this area right here at about 10,420, whatever the fuck it is. Should be in right now, so I'm gonna be putting up stop profit somewhere right around here at about 10,360ish region. I did it about 10 times. So potential profit on this one going to be about what about $500 to $600, assuming we actually do this right and get my prices. But I think that we likely do. So I'm going to put it at 369. So that'd be 30, 50, yeah, about $500, a little bit over $500 if we do get filled here. Which this one, going to be more difficult just because Bitcoin is putting a lot of time going sideways. But I do think that we are ready for a very short-term consolidation. However, higher time frame still very much set. Anyways, back into the derivative, which we started this video with. I do have a long position running on these December futures. I mean, I've had major long positions on both the September and the perps, which I've severely fucked up. Remember this perpetual position? I started it at 39.30, and then I did two boneheaded orders. Which if I actually show it, I think I can show it like this. Yeah, if I do it like this, I can show that I've actually and go through the trade history, you can see that I've accidentally bought on this, on these perps here, which I actually meant to do on the December futures, and that's just me being a fucking bonehead and rushing through things a little bit too fast. So I do want to be very transparent with something like that, because you probably, if you've been watching this channel for the past 6 months, you probably noticed that this average price has risen up quite a bit, but the P&L mostly stays the same. So again, this right here, kind of just discount it, because at the end of the day, all I did was accidentally buy on this instead of doing it on the December futures. Which, does it really change anything? No, it doesn't. But as an ego thing, it does get rid of that beautiful entry. But again, that doesn't change the P&L, the P&L or anything. It's more of an ego thing, which I do want to be very, very forwards with. But yeah, I'm going to be holding this position right here just because it was a cover against all my short calls that I was showing expiring tomorrow, I suppose, depending upon where your position is in this world. So I had to cover them coming into yesterday because, well, we started to hit off some of my lower time frame ideas, lower time frame targets, and then I'll likely be holding it based upon what we're going to be looking at right here, right now. So let's go into the actual charts, and looking at Bitcoin on the daily, you can see that we really are starting to change things up right here, as the daily is looking pretty strong. We've caught wind of the red 10 symbol, we've rallied off that, and right now we actually have a chance to we have a chance to close above the yellow 21 exponential moving average right here at about 10,200. It'll be just a few smidges below 10,200, but assuming that no diabolical sell-offs go on between now and in the end of the daily, which is going to be in 1 hour and 14 minutes, then, which, to be fair, we've seen a lot more crazy things than about $200 down in an hour of price action. Then yes, I'll be holding those for more medium and long-term trade. So you can now see how options can be used to construct those longer-term positions, because at first I was just using the options, right? I was just shorting the options because, well, I didn't really want to be spot short because the overall macro trend is still to the upside. I'd much rather be long on spot. So if I'm going to have any sort of downside exposure, I'm going to do it with options. So when I'm short options, I'm always in an overall upwards macro trend, I'm always happy to buy spot, because I can just pair it up with those short options and still collect the actual premium on them, and also the difference between the strike price and where I bought in, which is actually looking pretty good right now. So this is just a beautiful damn example of how options can allow you to be wrong on price action, or can allow you to be both wrong and right on price action and still make money. In this case, it was a little bit more planned, but you can see that even if I was in that direction, rejection, it's very, very simple to cover. So that is the beauty and an advantage of using options. Anyways, right here, if we actually do close this daily dodo above the yellow 21 exponential moving average, then I would be looking for overall continuation. Perhaps we do get a little bit of a short-term pullback down to about the 10-2 level, maybe retest the yellow 21 exponential moving average on the daily, but that'll likely be a buy to me if we can close this current daily above the yellow 21, which is, for all intents and purposes, about 10-200-ish region, with an hour and 13 minutes left to go now. So what I will say is, of course, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm just kind of sharing exactly what I'm thinking in these exact sort of unique situations in the market. But that's what I'll be doing, and understand, how it's kind of paired up for myself and my biases for this. But looking at daily right here, we're kind of seeing the follow through from everything that we spoke about over the last few days. We see daily Stokes headed upwards and onwards from the same area that caught this low right here from the 10th of June, which, by the way, that was that was when Bitcoin was trading at about $8,000, literally right before it was getting ready to move all the way to almost $14,000. And then the time before that we had across from this region was right on over here on 30th of April, and then also right on over here on 7th of March. 7th of March coming out of this base at about 4,000 up to almost 6,000, and this one right on over here. Sorry, the next one was it this guy right here? Yeah, it was this guy right here on the 30th of April, leading us out from this 5,200 base all the way to almost 9,000 just about a week and a half later. So this does hold a lot of weight to me and does mean a lot to me. And we can actually even pair that up with the 12-hour Stokes as well, which both these guys have been getting price action extremely well. And we very rarely actually see the 12-hour and the daily line up with each other, and we even more rarely see the 12-hour daily and 2-day line up with each other. But right now we're seeing the daily and the 12-hour line up with each other, which is obviously the prerequisite before you add in the 2-day. And we'll get to that in just a second. But while we are here on the 12-hour, we do see 12-hour Stokes very much upwards and onwards. More importantly, they actually have taken out this trend line that we were looking at for the past, Jesus Christ, man, about a month, officially on that last little tick, and should confirm even more so on this next one. Not only that, but 12-hour RSI actually looking very constructive within this region, taking out a similar trend line actually a few days before, and working its way up above the neutral zone, out of the bearish control zone, more importantly. So I do like this overall, and we see the 12-hour and the daily kind of line up with each other. In fact, the last time we saw them really line up with each other was essentially coming out of that last base right on over here, actually, from the same area. Now, the 12-hour has had plenty of cross the upside in the interim, but the daily has not, especially from this, sort of bottom posturing right here. So the last time that they were both situated with each other was right on over here. The 2-day was also to the upside as well. So that literally took Bitcoin all the way from 8,000 almost to 14,000 just a few weeks later. So that's my point, is that I love to see when you have all these confluences amongst the time frames that I think really hold some weight. And looking at 12-hour and daily, we can see that they are certainly lining up with each other. But let's go over to the 2-day now. And this is where things get a little more Jedi-like, because I do believe that if we see follow through on those time frames, it will carry on over into the 2-day, which is likely to get a pretty damn good close. Not closing tonight. It's going to be closing tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we actually won't be able to resolve this today, but I'd imagine it looks pretty good here. This is a good setup, as we spoke about yesterday. Anyways, 2-day Stokes, guess where they are? They're right at the downside as well. And remember, the last time that we actually saw them to the upside was, crossing from this area was literally in February. Literally coming out of this base right on over here, at around $3,700, all the way up, for the next few months. Sorry, not few months, but about half a year. But more importantly, we're actually going to have another chance to kind of curl up around this region as well. So I would say that is quite, I'd say that that's quite potent and something that I really am going to be monitoring going on here. And of course, we have the initial etchings of this likely to happen as well. Not just kind of, using the 12-hour and the daily as a corollary to look at these higher time frames, but also the 2-day RSI, which to me, this is a rejection of the bearish control zone. Looks a little bit allergic to it, and I believe that we do we have hidden bullish divergence? No, we do not. Sorry, false alarm, false alert. But the next sort of move that I'd be looking for is for the 2-day RSI to get above and confirm above this exponential right here. If we can do that, that'd be a pretty damn good signal. It would be a little bit of an initial tip off that this is going to get follow through on the 2-day Stokes, and then we could have all three of them rolling together. And again, the last time that we really saw any of that, all three of them together from the same posturing. That's a keyword. From the same posturing was right on over here in February, basically before this whole massive move up. But we have gotten a few other signatures where they're all moving up together, just not from the same posturing. The last notable one was out of this $8,000 base right here. So all pretty damn good. and we're really starting to see the stars potentially align, but they're not quite there just yet. But they are getting there. And again, looking at the daily 21 right here, I would say that it's if we can close above this area, this is going to start to look pretty damn good. Not only that, but daily RSI getting back above the exponential and working its way out of the bearish control zone as well. To me, that is a damn good signature. And of course, if we go over here to a corollary of Bitcoin, the GBDC, which is basically a Bitcoin investment trust on that trades OTC, which is for more or less bullshit. We actually did see this move foreshadowed, and that's why I kind of keep tabs on this one. It does foreshadow moves here and there. Yesterday, we both opened and closed a daily total above the yellow 20 exponential moving average, which is right on over here. And today, we actually get more continuation on top of that after this fucking nasty wick to the downside. Jesus Christ, man. Brutal, fucking brutal. But more importantly, we close, at new highs, and this looks good. So if GBDC is anything to go off of, which I do believe it was, and I do believe it is, as it was a damn good leading indicator in 2018. It was getting these moves like way in advance. Not way in advance, but like a day in advance, day or two in advance. This one looking healthy right here as well, and looks like it wants to work back up towards the 14.8 region. A little bit more medium term, so that would put Bitcoin probably around the $11,000 region. Not only that, but if we actually go over here and check out CMEs, we did see resolution on the descending triangle that we were looking at right on over here. Remember, descending triangles more likely to break out to the downside than the upside, but as I said before, this one likely to break out to the upside, and I've seen every fucking pattern break out every way that is technically not supposed to. And the measure move on this baby would actually be pointed towards about 11,000. Now there is about a $150 premium on price action for CMEs, so that put Bitcoin spot maybe like around 10.7, 10.8. But nonetheless, we do see a nice little resistance cleft coming in this region, and until that area, I do think that the higher time frames have a little bit more room to roll. You do see that's the 4-hour 200 simple right here, which ever since we lost the 200 simple on the 4-hour, price action has been pretty much harassed, ever since around it, on these highs right here. So I would say a little bit more medium term, the 10,700-ish region to 10,650-ish region is an area of fackage, if you want to call it that. And I would be looking at it, as a little bit of potential for, likely a short-term top at the very least, maybe a medium-term top, depending upon how we react in this region. But I'd have to still lean towards the sides of of overall bullishness. I'm still macro bullish. Never really changed on that one. Basically ever since February really or March. But the lower time frames, we're gonna have our ebbs and flows of the market, because this again is still just consolidation. We're still just consolidating within this region right here. I think it's a little bit more visually apparent on the on the higher time frames. Daily really starting to work its way up, but we don't necessarily have a signature of this breaking out just yet. Looking out over here on what is this, Finex, we do see a nice orderly drop off in volume going from left to right on this signature, which does suggest that this is actually quite mature and getting ready. And no, I don't think that this is what's going on right here. Sorry, that is not applicable. But this whole formation, whatever the fuck you want to call it, is getting damn near completion. And I would say that with the advent of the price action right here, and looking at all the momentum oscillators from these medium time frames to higher time frame perspectives, I would say that this is likely to be resolved to the upside. So I do have an upside bias here. I do think that we resolve to the upside. I do think that we have further upside to go. We basically already got the move that we're looking for this morning, right? We saw the 4-hour close above the 200 exponential moving average, which by the way we have plenty to talk about on there, but also this blue box territory right here, one and the same essentially. And again, very constructive behavior. We got the move. Again, and I don't say these things to be arrogant or say, yeah, I got it, I called it. Decimal to decimal, precision. I knew exactly what happened. No, it doesn't matter what the fuck you say. It only matters what your P&L is. I always want to look at those people's P&L and just be like, why are you so loud about that? If you got the move, you're probably pretty happy, right? Anyways, my point is that just as a case study, we come into this region, we reject off it on the first test, comes back down, tests this area as support, flips from resistance to support. Beautiful. That was a secondary buy area right there. And then what happens after that? That gives you the trending play. So I'm sure I'm going to get some questions on this because I've been saying that I'm not interested in holding medium or long-term longs as long as we're below the daily 21 exponential moving average, which of course today we're going to actually have a chance to break it. But let me kind of break down my trading strategy here and what I typically do. So you can see right here, I bought these December futures at an average price of about 97.50, which was essentially as a cover against my call positions. And once I do that, I'm generally just looking at this to kind of like float up here. And what I'll do is I'll follow it up by moving it up with each and every passing of the next resistance level. And if we were to kind of fade that resistance level, I will take it off. And, it either turns into a little bit of profit or usually break even, on those sorts of trades. If you set them up properly, that should be how it is when you mix them up with options, to be very, very clear. Anyways, looking at it right here, Bitcoin takes out the 9750-ish level right here. It never actually goes back down below again. Now you can imagine that on these few tries right on over here, you gave me a little bit of scare, but at the end of the day, we never closed above it. And once that happens, then this area flips to support. We actually test it completely fine. So then I start to hold on to it for a short-term trade. But in a short-term trade to me just basically means that I will be taking it off and de-risking the second that we actually go back below that more short-term resistance that we just broke. If it fails to act as support, I'll basically get rid of the trade. And then what happens after that? We actually rally off that, and it's just a good example of where things are more mature. Obviously over here, it's a lot more difficult to set up, but I'm also not doing the same thing over there. And more importantly, right on over here, we do the same thing on this next flip right here. We bust through the next resistance, head up to the next, head up to the next area, to the next target area, and then pop back down, consolidate at the flip of that last resistance as support. And that's where I say, hey, I'm going to hold on to this a little bit more. We didn't break the support. Okay, all is well and good. And then that gives me a chance to actually hold on for the medium to long-term trade, which is now starting to populate itself as we near completion of this daily dodo closing above the yellow 20 exponential moving average right on over here. So looking at this right now, I would say that this is actually quite likely to turn into a medium to long-term trade, and I'll basically be using the yellow 20 exponential moving average on the daily to kind of govern this one going forwards here. So it's kind of like a riskless trade. It's gonna make, which is very very easy on this old type trading. Anyways, getting back on over here, do I want to talk about? No, we talked about the 2-day enough. Two day is very similar to the daily right here. Actually, the 3-day and the weekly are the ones that kind of tip me off a little bit. But the 3-day actually did do something very 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 big here. Now, yes, we are at the red 10 moving average on the 3-day, which probably does push back on price action a little bit from this region. Like I said, a tentative target maybe like 10-200-ish region. Not something that I'm not necessarily something that I'm like looking for to happen, but if it does happen, it's you want to see that area act as support. More importantly though, on the 3-day right here, we've actually taken out the high of the last 3-day dildo. You see this guy right here at about 10,300. We have obviously traded well above him. Yes, we are getting rejected by the red 10 simple, but more importantly, my big concern with price action was looking at this as a bearish engulfing dildo, taking us below the yellow 20 exponential moving average. But what happens on the next one? It's a fake out. Is exactly what just got confirmed. So to me, this is a very 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 important piece of price action, because that was what was really throwing me off from getting a little bit more bullish in a sense, as the 3-day and then also the weekly were kind of looking a little bit off center. However, now the 3-day looks decent to okay, and the weekly still a little bit left to be desired, but I can actually offer up a point of reference there as well. Anyways, looking at the 3-day, we do see momentum oscillators basically in the same posturing. You motherfucker, bring him up or my autistic rage will come out, trading view. It's like threatening an inanimate object. How crazy can you be, Krown? Anyways, looking at 3-day right here, we do see 3-day Stokes nosediving. So we are kind of seeing them kind of populate into the same region that we do see on the 2-day, daily, and 12-hour, which obviously the 3-day are going to take longer. But my point is that we're not really like in critical areas right now to the upside. So a momentum oscillator like that, when we're kind of in consolidation like this, would naturally provide an upside bias here. Other than that, not really too much else to look on this chart. Looking at the weekly, in the weekly is kind of the last of Mohicans for making me a little bit off center, I guess you could say. Now you can see that we closed our first weekly diddle below the red 10 moving average for the first time, basically this whole run ever since February essentially. Now this is concerning to me because it would suggest that the consolidation goes lower from this time frame perspective. Again, all lower time frames look good to me, look fine for continuation. It's just the weekly right here, which offers up a little bit of a counterpoint. However, there's one big thing to be aware of with this, and that is if we go over here to GBTC, which remember GBTC has been a pretty damn good like DeLorean showing you the past, the present in the past, or past in the present. I'm not quite sure how that one goes, but looking at this right here, look at GBTC. We actually have a bullish engulfing dildo on the weekly. Powerful, fucking powerful, man. And if GBTC is leading, which it has shown that it is. As I make sure that I'm actually recording. Okay, we are recording. Good, great. I'm already like 10 minutes into this one. But this guy right here looks to me like he wants to pop up. This is very, very good price action. Bullish engulfing, extremely likely to get followed through. Especially on higher time frames. So I would say that is quite significant. And we pair it up with spot. That would kind of get rid of my, the last of my concerns with this price action on the higher time frames. And oh man, those gap boys, they gonna be very, very frustrated. Gap boys, what you gonna do when they don't fill you? Gap boys, go broke, baby. No, just kidding. The gap on CMEs obviously is always going to be a topic of consideration, no doubt about this. This is always going to be a little bit left of center, looking at this region right here and saying, hey, what the fuck's actually going on with this? At some point in time, I'd still keep my eyes open for that area. I'm not necessarily convinced that Bitcoin's like fully out of the woods just yet. From the higher time frame perspective, we're nowhere near out of the woods until we like really get back above. And you're not going to like this answer. But this is the truth. 13,000 and maintaining above 13,000 realistically. So for right now, it's still kind of looking us in the face, but I don't think that is happening anytime soon is what I really want to say. To me, this is constructive price action right here. We do have the break. The CMEs have actually confirmed above the daily 21 exponential moving average, and and really from CME perspective, I'd be looking to buy any sort of a retest on this region. Again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not going to be buying the retest anyways because I'm already long and I'm quite comfortable with that. Again, this is my streamer account right here, so I actually do feel a little bit apprehensive about having almost a 60 Bitcoin long on right now. Jesus Christ, man, that account is like a real account now. It's kind of nice. Anyways, looking at CMEs, we do see daily. Come on, CMEs, come on, get on over there. There we go. Daily for CMEs, daily Stokes looking very, very good here. In fact, we've also broken this trend line along the way as well. A little bit more of an aggressive one, but if I actually zoom in a bit, you can see that it is appropriately situated, and more importantly, we are breaking out here and getting massive divergence away from each other. More importantly, as we break above a critical major moving average, to me, all these things matter a lot. Yes, we are hitting more short-term interim resistance right around 10.7 on CMEs, which is about 10.450, 10.500 on spot. But I do think that after a short consolidation, a little bit lower on the lower time frames, we probably actually do break this one to the upside and head towards our full target somewhere right around 11,000 to 11,200. Sorry, that's not our full target, but that'll be the next target. Full target, there's no real full target for something like this. It's a general upside buy, so we take it one step at a time. Really, as a trader, that's really all I can do to begin with. It's the analysts who are going to say something like, I think it's going here because my whatever. It doesn't fucking matter, man. Analysts have no skin in the game. They have no real no real accountability with their P&L, so they can say whatever the fuck they want because at the end of the day, all they care about is getting views, right? And getting views on something like YouTube is great. You can do all sorts of crazy titles and whatnot to get people riled up. I totally understand that, and I'm not even talking shit to analysts, man. It's just, hey, that's way different than trading, and that's why I think people, rightfully so, hold a little bit of animosity towards people who don't have any natural skin in the game. If you don't have skin in the game, it always feels a little bit slimy, a little bit weird. And also to address, do I want to talk about that? No, I don't want to talk about that. Anyways, going back to the 4-hour. Let's talk about this for a second, as the death cross is really losing its strength now, because we have gotten our first close above the 200 exponential moving average on the 4 hour. So remember, about a week and a half ago, right on over here, we were speaking about the death cross, and I was saying, hey, if you want to make life easier on yourself, or at least if I want to make life easier on myself, talking in the first person now, what I do is I just wait for the golden cross on this asset, and likely that's gonna be a pretty damn good momentous trade. Are you gonna get the ultimate low on this move? No, but that's okay. At the end of the day, if you're a trader, all you care about is momentum, really, as opportunity cost is always a consideration when taking trades. And looking at this guy right here, it does look to me like we're really doing some damage to the death cross. You can see these two moving averages converging pretty rapidly on each other. That's the green 50 and the purple 200, and more importantly, we're above the highest period moving average, so naturally it's going to converge on each other. And as the strength of trend loosens. So looking at this right here, I've actually gone back in time and gone on literally gone over all of the past prior bear market, or sorry, not bear market, but upwards market death crosses for the 4 hour dildos. And I've seen that it usually takes about 2 weeks on average to go from death cross to golden cross, and in like the damage done to price action is quite variable actually. It goes anywhere from like 20% to literally the low is already put in beforehand. So it's like, how do you really calculate that? You can't. If you want the full on examples shown, definitely go to my last video that I uploaded in the long-term analysis playlist, as that will accurately document that. But this one, I don't want to go through all the examples once again, and I'll just say usually on average about 2 weeks. Anyways, why is that relevant right now? Well, we're about at the 2 week mark actually. In fact, this one happened on the 22nd of July, about 22nd of July, and right now we are on the 1st or 2nd day of August, depending upon where in the world you are right now. So that is about 10, 11, 12 days. So we're getting close to that 2 week mark. Of course, it's still going to take some time for these guys to actually golden cross each other. As you can see, it's still going to take at least a few days. Even if we were to head straight up from here, it's still going to take its time. But more importantly, we do see that this is kind of in line with the expectation. Not that they should have expectations. Expectations are a terrible thing to have as a trader. But we can say that, historically speaking, this is pretty damn stock standard for what we typically experience with this. And to me, looking overall good. If we can actually get the golden cross on these babies, and then that's just going to make me want to hold on to these longs for even longer, really. I mean, that's at the point where we can start to, target moves towards 11.8, maybe 12,000-ish region. And again, just take it one step at a time, but it would really open up the possibility for that. If we can get the golden cross here, I'd really be looking for, a retest of, of these highs over time. Again, not going to happen like at the snap of a Nicholas Martin's fingers right there, but at the end of the day, I do think that, to kind of just set that general trajectory, again, I really do think that Bitcoin did a phenomenal job of frustrating all of the good old gap boys looking for lower prices. Everyone was looking for, 7,500, 8,500, 6,000 for some people saying that this is going to capitulate from here. I do want to give people, some merit to what they're thinking. I want to understand where they're coming from. I don't really see it myself where people are coming from with that. The best that I could come up with was the weekly jewel, which is still a little bit of a competing factor, absolutely, and we'll get to that in just a second. But I would like to say that, hey, at the end of the day, man, when everyone's, it comes back to that age-old thing. When everyone's kind of thinking the same thing, what typically happens, we either get front-ran or we get overshot, and in this case, I believe that we get front-ran right on over here on the test down to the 89 exponential moving average right here. Is it close enough to kind of call a gap fill from about 9,000 all the way down to about 8,500? In the long term, if we switch this up to a weekly, it could, yes. But again, a little, still a little bit of an air of, questionableness, which I'll go over now because I do want to address this. Although I don't think that it's happening right now. I want to be very, 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 very clear in stating this. I actually don't think this is going to be happening right now. I'm not leaning towards this. I'm leaning towards more upside. But there is something to be aware of on the weekly right here, and that is the weekly 21 exponential moving average, which has yet to be tested during this whole move to the upside. Bitcoin loves to bounce off it on its moves to the upside and basically get rejected by it on its move to the downside. It's a pretty stock standard region for most markets. They like to play off that region on a weekly basis, not on a weekly basis, but on a weekly charting basis. And it's relative, and it's considered relatively healthy to kind of come off of it. Anyways, you can see Bitcoin has a great history of doing it. But more importantly, if we kind of pair this up with my favorite indicator right now, which is the jewel, we do see a very specific signature that the jewel is given up, which is when the light blue oscillator gets into this critical zone above the 80 above the 80 marker where my cursor currently is right now, then flashes red in the background, and then gets a negative slope on that same light blue oscillator, and in some cases actually crosses the pink slower one on the same way. Then that each and every time that we've gotten that in the history of Bitcoin has produced a retest down to the yellow 20 exponential moving average 10 out of 10 times. We're talking about a sample size of 10 over the course of literally the history of Bitcoin. Each one has been perfect. And usually it actually tests it almost instantaneously, like within the next 2 weeks. As you can see on these first few examples right here, this one took about a month. But if we actually fast forward just a little bit, there are a couple examples in the more recent times, relatively recent times that is, where it took about 2 months. And right now, since we've started to get this signature once again, it has been about a month and a half. So we are kind of on a ticking timeline right here, and of course, I think it also goes without saying that yes, we do have that same signature right here. That is an issue to me, and it does make me a little bit apprehensive. That's kind of like the last of Mohicans, though, for me. Generally speaking, though, I do, I'm basically bullish here. I'm basically fucking perma bull at this point. It's ridiculous, is what it is. It's kind of embarrassing, but hey, man, call a spade a spade. Anyways, in the very, very low time frames right here, it looks to me like we want to have a little bit of downside. Probably pop back down, test like 10.3, maybe 10.2 around the daily 21. but I don't think that really happens until tomorrow, until we get the next daily, which to be fair is going to be in the next 50 minutes. So I guess I've been doing this this video already for 20 minutes. Nice. So basically what I'm looking at right here, kind of correlating all the different time frames together. We can start off with the 4 hour, and as long as Bitcoin remains above the purple 200 exponential moving average right here, I would say that this is just a general good guideline. It's also going to be confluent with the daily 21. Both are very, very important to me because the 4 hour is going to have correlation to the 4 hour golden cross, and the daily 21 is just my general trend strength, strength of trend kind of identifier for the daily, which is a good like healthy medium of a time frame to kind of gauge some price action off of. And I would be looking at this as likely to flip to strong support. That also means if we do lose this area, 10,200, very, very important. If we lose that area, very, 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 very likely that we come back down to revisit like 9.6, 9.7 region. And shit, I mean, at that point in time, it's going to get a little bit hairy because anytime that we're around this blue box right here at about 9,400, that's the one that does lead to lower prices in the 8,000s. If we break this area, then yes, I will be on the same side of as other people saying that we're likely to go to 8,500 or 8,000 or 7,500. Just general downside is what I'd be looking for. But for right now, I think that this is generally healthy. I think this is generally fine. And short-term time frames, medium time frames, and higher time frames all showing some upside, continuation of upside here. Well, I should say short-term time frames look like a pullback here. To be fair, pullback probably down, maybe as much as this 10,200-ish region. But I would be looking for that area to be defended. As long as it's defended, I think generally good. Okay, cool. So, if we do get the pullback, which, like I said, is expected somewhere between about 10.3 and 10.2, I would look for the next move to actually bring us up into this next blue box territory right on over here at about 10.7-ish region, give or take a few bucks. Will look about right to me, and that's the next sort of area where I'd be looking for, another short-term pullback. It will be confluent with the last major breakdown that we had from this region, as you can see, and also the white 200 simple on the 4 hour coming within this region as well, which has been harassing price action. So it would also be a chain of behavior, more importantly, if we can get above. But as you can see right now, the slope on it is to the downside, and I do think that it is weakening up a little bit, but likely, at least on the very first pass, it would, I'd imagine it probably does get pushed back. So, again, short term, I'd be looking for Bitcoin to bounce off this region, and then we'll kind of reassess it from there. But I'd imagine that, after a little bit of sideways, we probably do get another try to the upside. But we'll have to come back to that one later and really assess it in real time. Anyways, we spoke about GBTC, we spoke about CMEs. Let's go check out Bitcoin dominance for a second. Or sorry, no, before we do that, let's actually talk about the Bitcoin monthly. Because we did just get a new monthly, or we did just get a new monthly is what I'm attempting to say. But looking at the monthly right here, monthly had a pretty good close. I mean, monthly closed above 10,000 psychological support. I think that's a pretty damn good healthy start. And to me, it just looks like a little bit of profit taking after the last like 6 months of just straight to the upside. So I actually don't see any major issues with this. I'm sure a lot of people are calling this a spinning top. I would not identify it as a spinning top. The reason why I would not identify it as a spinning top is because it's not a fucking top. It's the problem. More importantly, it looks like a consolidation. We neither take out the high or low of the preceding dildo, and this one right here, it just looks like if we throw on the Challenger bands, a little bit of profit taken to me as we consolidate within this region above a healthy, major, massive psychological area, the 10,000 number, and of course we're operating between the medium band, which would suggest, we're operating between the medium band and the top, the top band, which would suggest that this is likely a more bullishly biased consolidation, and also just the fact that we closed close, very, very close to the top Challenger band, that offers up the potential for this to actually trend at the upside once again, similar to what we saw right on over here during 2016, or basically just any upwards market. As you can see, it likes to close near the top, the top of the Challenger bands, and then it pushes, it kind of like sets it to push to that side, as time moves onwards and forwards. So I would say that this is actually a pretty damn good signal. And not only that, but when we bring up the momentum oscillators, the good old mommy oscillators right here, chicken tendies getting all over my fingers right now. Don't shake my hands, just kidding. But looking at monthly Stokes, this looks really fucking good, man. We actually just got out of the bearish control zone for the first time in over a year. The last time that we saw a signature like this was basically over here in December 2015. So leading out of this base right here for the next like 3 years to the upside, pretty fucking good. Not only that, but monthly RSI actually holding its own. I would say that the monthly RSI would be a little bit more of a contingent, of a contingent downwards point, as the last time that we actually got into the bullish control zone for the first time after being away from it for so long, it did get swiftly rejected, which is again another reason why I'm a little bit apprehensive here. But this is not. I'm having a hard time trying to put my finger on what the right word is for this. It's not a primary consideration to me, even though it is a monthly and is, generally a higher time frame. I do look at this as a little bit, up for interpretation, and pulling in all of the other, all the other corollaries. I would say that they are, it's just one thing out of all of those that's likely to kind of flip around anyways, and probably come in line with the other ones rather than the other ones coming in line with it. If I were to put weight on them, I certainly put more weight on the other ones. Is what I'm trying to get at. Also, monthly Jewel getting back above the pink slower moving oscillator as well, so pretty damn good. Not really anything more than that. We did see the cross on the last monthly dildo. This one just kind of like ultra confirms it as we do push onwards and through and through. So I would say that longer term, the higher time frames looking very, very good. Still very much bullish, and that's what I really want to get on right and over there. Anyways, taking these babies back on off and going back down to a lower time frame. Let's go check out the Bitcoin dominance chart now. I also forgot to look at the accumulation distribution indicator on the monthly, but it looks good. Just take my word for it. It looks fucking good, man. Anyways, Bitcoin dominance right here, ticking back up exactly the area that we spoke about 68.5%. And I do think that, man, now am I going to be wrong? Am I going to be wrong in the call that I think it does stop here? I do think that you get a short-term pullback here, maybe back down to about 68 even. But does it? I mean, this is actually looking pretty good. To be fair, I think it's very possible that I might be wrong in this one, and we actually do head up higher on the Bitcoin dominance before we actually do come back down. It could be that we actually head up all the way to about 69.5% first. I could be wrong in this one, but I would still treat this area firstly and foremost on the lower time frames as likely to get pushed back from this region, which will benefit the alts just a very slight amount. It's not going to be the move that you're looking for. The alts are still in trouble here, as this generally looks good. Jesus Christ, man, yeah, that actually has a pretty damn good signature. Yeah, looking at all daily oscillator is going to look the same as Bitcoin essentially. But Bitcoin very much contrary to the rest of the market is what this is showing. So to me, man, I guess you'd have to kind of go with the former trend. That is the right thing to do here. Even though I'd really like to say that I think it reversed from this region. I think I'm going to be wrong on that. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be wrong on that. And we actually do try a little bit higher, maybe up towards 69.5%. Anyways, over time, a little bit more medium, I actually would be looking for this to come back down to about 65 or 65.5%. But make no mistake, even if I am looking for that on the medium time frame perspective, the higher time frames are still massively. I mean, shit, man. The weekly looks really good. Weekly looks really good. Weekly looks really fucking good. That's a very good response. I still think it's a little bit too early. Monthly looks very fucking good. Monthly looks very good. Holy shit. Monthly looks very, very good here. Jesus Christ, man. Yeah, probably back up to 72.25. So that's going to spell a lot more hurt for alts, a little bit more long term. So yeah, that's what I'd stick to right on over there. Anyways, back on a Bitcoin, back on lower time frames, and Bitcoin pushing back up, but that's okay. I'll probably have to close that trade relatively soon, if I haven't already. Anyways, if I haven't even been watching to get filled to the downside. Anyways, let's crack on with this a little bit more. Let's talk about gold for a second. Gold, very nice move here. Oh my God, powerful move. This one comes down all the way to our 1400 support and then just rallies straight off it. Did give a little bit of a fake out on the yellow 20 exponential moving average along the way, but look at this. This is breakout volume right here. This looks damn good to me, and I do think that we get further follow through. Like I said, lower time frames on gold are kind of difficult right now, but the higher time frames are pretty damn simple, and this looks like continuation to me. This looks like it's still bullish, and I'd still say that we likely hit this target over the next month or two, up around 1460-ish region, and then we still have this one to deal with all the way at about 15, 11, 15, 13-ish region. So I do think that this one ultimately travels higher. And why is this relevant? Well, because Bitcoin and gold seem to be kind of traveling together as I pull up the correlation coefficient. Let me actually, there we go. I should actually favorite this. There we go. By good old Ballypore, and bringing it up right here. We do see in the purple histogram that on a weekly, also on a monthly closing basis, this is pretty positively correlated, but the weekly is even more so. The weekly is all the way at an 80, which is pretty fucking high. So these two assets correlated with each other. Bullishness in gold will be perceived bullishness in Bitcoin as well. So these two guys both kind of moving together, and I do think that gold has some upside here, has more upside here, and that's just just another reason to be looking for more upside on Bitcoin. Anyways, what else do we have? Do we want to look at all the shitcoins? Nope, not really. I'd just say that the Bitcoin dominance chart kind of showing that most altcoins are going to be forced back down to their lows of where they were priorly. So I do think that the Bitcoin dominance chart does give them a reprieve a little bit later, but for right now, it's looking pretty good. I was not expecting it to get this high this fast, which does suggest that it probably goes higher before we actually do get a little bit of a reprieve there. So I think I'm gonna have to pull my prior statement and say yes, it did get to 68.5, which was our target. I think it actually gets a little bit higher here towards maybe 69.5, which is going to spell a little bit more hurt for the good old altruistic altcoins. The honorable hodlers, they're not gonna like this one, but hey. Just being honest, man. Anyways, okay, cool. So let's go check out the other top two shitcoins, Mr. Buteral and Mrs. Litecoin. Then we'll wrap this bitch up. And looking at Mr. Buteral right here, I'm going to imagine he's probably following through with Bitcoin. As you can see, Mr. Buteral certainly laggard, not very strong, but catching wind of some of Bitcoin's strength here and Litecoin strength, as Litecoin actually looks pretty good as well. The 200 exponential moving average at about 222.5 is your major area of operation. If we can actually close the daily dodo above there, and especially open and close the daily dodo above there, more importantly, then I'd be looking for this to just generally work its way higher towards about 250-ish target. If we put on drawing tools right here, we are kind of operating a nice symmetrical triangle coming off the lows, and yeah, the measure move on this would be pointed towards 245 if we break out to the upside with a closure above the 200 exponential moving average 222.5. To the downside, it would actually bring us down to about 180-ish region. But again, with Bitcoin looking like he wants some upside here, I'd say that this one probably likely to fall through as well. Anyways, looking at weekly from Mr. Buteral, how's it shaping up? Yeah, weekly looks fucking atrocious. Weekly is so, oh my god, it's so awful. It really is. It really is horrendous here. But again, Bitcoin and Litecoin kind of taking the show, and I'd imagine that as long as those ones look and remain relatively healthy within the context of this conversation, I would say that Buteral falls through as well, and will likely hit that target and probably even higher than that over time. Going over here to Mrs. Litecoin, the beautiful bitch that's stolen the show once again. Look at this. Oh man, what a nasty fake out on the yellow 21 on the weekly, but can certainly happen. And when we look at the daily, the picture becomes very, very clear. We actually did close the daily above the yellow 21 yesterday, and Bitcoin did not. So Litecoin, I think, is leading, and Litecoin has a halving in I think just like a few days or something like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but regardless of it, the chart looks better than most in this market, and that's how I know that something's going on here. If we can actually just close anywhere above $97.5 today, which I think is going to be quite likely, as we will be closing this next daily dildo in 37 minutes, then I'd generally be looking for this next level to be hit somewhere right around 105 region, and then probably higher over time. More medium and long-term minded thinkers are going to be looking at about 115 to 120-ish region, right around here. Again, weekly looks it's sloppy as fuck, man. But the second that we take out last week's high at 189 cents, I'd be looking for this to ultimately work its way higher. Towards those next targets at around 115 to 120-ish region, and this is going to shape up to be a nice healthy consolidation as well, similar to Bitcoin, but right now looking very sloppy, but almost there. See, it's a little bit more. We do see daily oscillators headed to the upside, getting out of the neutral zone as well. Pretty damn good. Daily RSI getting out of the bearish control zone. Nicely done as well, Mr. RSI. And actually, daily Joule did give it a decent buy signal here. It's not like a super great one, but it is a decent one. The best buy signal was actually had on the CME 4-hour chart. The CME 4-hour chart, and I forget who it was who tipped me off to this in the program chat, but CME 4-hour chart right here had a almost perfect buy signal on the 4-hour. The only thing that would make this more perfect is if it was just originating from down here, but this actually happened on the current low, or like right after we kind of dug ourselves out of that low, kind of coming into this next trending move. So I say that the Joule actually got it the most right out of anything right now that I've seen, and now we're just kind of seeing it fall through. So I would say that you can see that on CMEs that we're rapidly approaching the 4-hour 200 moving average, and more importantly on CMEs, by the way, we never got the death cross, as you can see. No, sorry, we did get the death cross. But it's going to be quite short-lived, as we're going to get the golden cross. Probably on the next few ticks, assuming that we don't dump back down below like 10-2 in the next, in the next 36 hours. But yeah. Just wanted to say that this, looks okay. Anyways, back onto Bitcoin. Let's start to wrap this bitch up. Again, lower time frames to me probably do look like a little bit of a pullback here. I would be looking for a retest somewhere down around 10.2 to 10.300 sometime once we get to the next daily dildo, which is going to be happening again in about 35 minutes. So hopefully by the time I get this video out, that'll be populating. So sometime on this next daily dildo, we likely do come back down and test that region. But I do think that I think that it likely holds. We probably rally off that region. It also just offers up a very easy way to trade it, because you know that as soon as we go back down below 10,200, the trade idea is nullified, and we're probably going to see some more further downside. But until that happens, I'd be looking at that as a nice little retest of former resistance, now testing a support. Remember, this is the same area that's really been causing a lot of sell-offs for Bitcoin. I mean, the 21 exponential moving average not only did this nastiness right here, but also this one right here, another rejection right here, another rejection right here, another rejection right here. That's what, 5 times. Now we're actually gonna get a legitimate chance to get above. I mean, it looks like we're gonna get above. Then again, can never speak too soon. But yeah, my point is that I'd be looking for that to get bought up and rally back on up. So lower time frames showing a little bit of tiredness here. We do see hourly Stokes to the downside. I think 2-hour Stokes are actually to the upside right now and following this trend line. So we actually do have something to be going off of right here. 3-hour Stokes going to be up as well. Oh, 3-hour Stokes are still up. 4-hour are going to be up as wow. 4-hour going to be up. 6-hour going to be up. I think all time frames are going to be up except for the hourly. All right, well, fair enough. Fair enough. I still do think that we get this pullback down to about like 10.2 or 10.3 region, but it likely does hold. So I'd pay special attention to that. Right now, it's only the hourly that looks a little bit tired to me. We're not even getting any sort of divergences on the hourly just yet. I mean, people are going to call this bearish divergence from this point to this point. I'm not so sure how much. I don't think that these points are related. This is from a different consolidation. It's kind of irrelevant. We'd want to see that represented on like a 4-hour if it's going to be this far away from each other, and we don't see anything of the sort. In fact, we just see continuation here, so it looks pretty damn good overall. More importantly, by the way, on the 4-hour historical volatility percentile, we're extremely low right now. We have not seen this low of historical volatility percentile since literally like the mud that we got stuck in during the 3,000 level right on over here. Remember, that was right when Bitcoin was winding up to basically fucking more than 4x, basically more than 4x from February lows all the way to June highs, and then of course the time before that was winding up before this massive dooms drop right on over here from 6,300 to 3,100. So I would say that big massive price action, big girthy massive price action that might be satisfying to some and might be dissatisfying to others, likely to be happening relatively soon. Not only that, but actually daily kind of agreeing with that, as we do see daily historical volatility percentile is just doing some different here. We've actually gotten below the moving average, and the moving average now has a negative slope on it. So we're actually kind of, we're getting resolution on this is what I'm trying to say. And that's exactly confluent with what we're seeing on price action. So I like what I see to kind of like summarize it all. I like what I'm seeing overall. I do think that we're going to get continuation here. I do think that next targets are going to tentatively be around 10.7 to 10.8 region is going to be the next major area of interest. Basically the 4-hour 200 simple moving average, which, about 10.7, little bit below 10.7 actually. If and when Bitcoin does break that region, then I'd be looking for a move into the into the lower 11,000s, like 11,200 would be my next target, or sorry, 11,400 would actually be my next target. Would it be 11,002 or 11,004? No, 11,002. This little swing high right here, of course, is going to come into play, and then a little bit more long term, I'd just be looking for things to generally float up into this next major area right here. Probably, if we hit like a full on crazy move on this consolidation, probably meeting somewhere along this trend line, somewhere right around 11.8, and that's going to be the next major area. Because remember, nothing from the higher time frame perspectives gets resolved as long as we're operating essentially between about 13,000 and about 9,500. Nothing really changes within that range. It's not till we actually move outside of that range and maintain outside of that range where we can really start to talk about a full-on resolution of this formation and looking for it to populate those moves. Anyways, for right now, I think that's going to do it. Just kind of summarize them up. Lower time frames, maybe a little bit of a pullback here coming into tomorrow, but I do think that the higher time frames are likely going to get set as long as we close the daily above the 21. I'd be looking to buy any sort of a retest back down to the 21 and just manage risk right around there. Again, it's not a 100% guaranteed trade to work out, and I'm not even taking it myself because I'm already long. But but it offers up a nice, easy way to manage risk. So that sort of statistical advantage over time is likely to produce winners. And this one, I do think ends up playing out. But anyways, that's gonna do it for today. I do want to wish you well on this nice little Thirsty Thursday. Have a nice night out or in if it's gonna be with me trading some Magic Internet money some Magic Internet money right here, right now. Anyways, I'll be back on tomorrow with some more video and live stream analysis. I do want to wish you well and take care. See you soon.